Lawmakers say the goal is to strengthen democracy and rebuild public trust.
Since our inauguration, we have embarked on the most comprehensive, most consultative review process in Nigeria's democratic history. We have held retreats with legal scholars and technical consultants. We have convened dialogues with the judiciary, security agencies, and national women groups. We have engaged with our vibrant civil society and held public hearings all through the 6 geopolitical zones of our great nation. Before us today is a compendium of 87 proposed amendment bills, each a response to the felt needs and expressed desires of the Nigerian people. They are organized around the central pillars of a modern, functional, and just society.
Benjamin Kalu, Deputy Speaker, Nigeria's House of Assembly there. Well, joining us now to offer critical analysis on the ongoing constitutional review process in the House of Reps is Dr. Sam Amadi. He's director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Good to have your news night tonight.
Thank you.
So, first, let's get your critical assessment of the ongoing constitutional review. Right now, do you have any issues, concerns?
Plenty, of course.
Go ahead.
You know, this is about the 5th alteration. Somebody said 6th.
If it goes ahead.
Yes. If it goes ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when Senator David Mark was Senate President and Ekweremadu, I wrote and I said, this idea of altering constitution through this kind of orchestrated means is not proper. And I said 2 things. One, it's true that the Constitution talks about alteration of the Constitution by piecemeal legislation. But because of the nature of the Constitution, you would expect that there must be an issue, clarity. Okay, we want to talk about, let's say, citizenship, for example.
Right.
It dominates conversation, deliberation, consensus. And over the years, if you look at the US, we talk about 13th amendments.
Amendments. They have
Those
amendments.
amendments, some of them lasted decades. Contentions, deliberations, small circuit groups and assemblies before they crystallize into an alteration of the Constitution. Think about the civil rights and the amendment that followed portion to the struggle. So you don't just sit and create multiple alterations to a Constitution. By the reckoning today, it's about 87. So which means that Constitution is dead, really. If you need to do 18 alterations to a constitutional document, then you need to have a national constitution conference, maybe a new constitution. So that's the first problem. The second problem for me is the role of international organizations in all this. To be fair, it doesn't speak of a serious country that have to put its sovereignty, that their constitutional document would be most times inspired, funded, UNDP, Foreign and Commonwealth Office. These are great guys. They should be funded NGOs. But if the government wants to do constitutional reform, they ought to own it 100%. Right. I don't care about the consultants. They can appoint Nigerians. But the point is that the funding, because it shows that Nigeria is not a country that has mission in the world. Because you have a mission in the world, you anticipate external aggression, external influence. It's just floating. A country that has a mission in the world, an African giant, shouldn't have its constitution kind of being helped to push through by foreign interests. So that for me is a problem. And the third issue is, I see a lot of incoherence. People are suggesting things left, right, center. For example, there's a proposal now to revert back to Court of Appeal as a final court for governorship election. That was what it was before Jonathan. And they say, Tinubu and APC has cornered Salami, the justice of the Court of Appeal, and Court of Appeal was not giving judgment for ACN and so on and so forth. Let's go to Supreme Court. We are back again. It speaks to something that's dangerous. Political scientists, researchers say that, look, if you look at conscience in the world, the most stable politics in the world, and this is borne out by empirical evidence and theory, are those whose conscience have not been altered for long. That's why you look at countries like, whether it's Germany, France, they rarely. So when they alter the constitution, it has to follow an epochal event. It has to follow some kind of major crisis that recreates a sense of who they are. And so that's my total worry, that we are putting laundry lists of things that don't matter. And the final point is this, in the big issue. The Constitution gives National Assembly the power to make law. So when you now put every legal relationship into the constitutional document, so what does National Assembly do? So most of the things they want to put in the Constitution are things that are part of the legislative competence of the National Assembly. Right. So the quick question is this. The constitutional concept is that it does three things. One, it streamlines governmental power, federalism between state and federal. It defines separation of power, institutions of government and the corporate, and defines human rights, how citizens and states relate. All these issues around how to appoint judges and so on and so forth should be part of a high court law. If you look at the U.S. Constitution, it simply speaks about 3-4 key articles. Articles about executive power, article about legislative power. Even the judicial power, it simply says, the Supreme Court and, federal courts, how they organize. And not part of, so the Nigerian Constitution ought to be trimmed by 2/3 and thrown away. The things we are struggling to put every year, if every political crisis in Nigeria becomes a matter of legislative constitutional reform, then that constitutional reform fails to deliver in the next electoral cycle, then we amend it again. That's why we have 6 every session. That's really horrible.
It begs the question, what is truly incentivizing this endless cycle of constitutional review? I mean, is it the fact that we do agree that this constitution was by the military? So is it a lack of a ground norm by the people, or is there a budgetary incentive somewhere?
Twofold, and it's a good question. First, I think obvious financial incentive is here. If you look at the speaker, the deputy speaker hates that it's not almost statutory. So the deputy speaker for this house, the deputy senate president for the Senate. And it becomes a major billions of naira project. And then international support fund. So the first thing here is that there's always fund to spend. Because I don't see this ceremony. Look, at the end of the day, the last one we did, they went to the merry-go-round and only a few bills were able to go to the states. So there's economic incentive. The second incentive, like I said, is that we don't have lawyers who are also doing this job, have no knowledge about constitutional theory. Look, I teach constitutional law. It's not a lawyer's game, it's a political scientist. The concept of a constitution is an ideation document. It's about who you want to be. It's not it's not just like you want to go into a marriage, okay? You sign those who do nuptial contracts. It's basic. It doesn't tell you the clothes you wear on Sunday. It doesn't tell you how the kitchens are arranged. Those things are banished. So lawyers just create this legalism, and they just clutter everywhere with rules and roads and constitution. So I think that there's other incentive that this is a lawyer's job, and they go about it, and the senior advocates, they fill everywhere, and are creating incoherence. So if you ask me, the incentive that our constitutional system is incoherent. And thirdly, Nigerians have a lack of disposition towards rigor. So if it's a problem, political problem, take for example the issue of when Yar'Adua didn't hand over power. That is not a constitutional failure. That's a political failure. The next thing is to make a rule that says 90 days. So if Tinubu fails again to do something, they come back again and get. So the inability to be rigorous and solve political problems and allow processes. My worry is that this is becoming a show. Every Senate, House of National Assembly, there's always a constitutional reform. What are we doing? So if this constitution is so bad, like I said, it's military constitution, why don't we agree and come and have a reconstitution? My plea is that you better keep your constitution small. It don't solve all the crises through a constitutional reform. So like, take for example, the local government they're trying to solve. The Supreme Court nobody invited them. They went and caused a blunder and gave a decision that is unconstitutional. Now they want to write the constitution to align with the Supreme Court's very wrong decision they made.
Dr. Sawamadi.
It's horrible. And
Can you liken this to changing the pillars of the building every now and again?
It's actually changing the beams and leaving the pillars rotten. And they are doing this is a show. Look, every electoral cycle we end up, there are a few things we can do very well. The female seat is good. The issue of electoral reform is good. There is talking about ecclesiastical court of appeal. I mean, what kind of joke is
We'll
that?
have to leave
People
it
are talking about state creation in an economy where states are almost bankrupt.
Yes.
I don't see the logic of it.
Dr. Sam Amadi, Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Wish we had all day to really discuss, all the details in this constitution, whose legitimacy is still, very much in question. I guess that's the